Hello, everyone. Welcome to our channel. This is yet another interview. I'll be your host. My name is John Lokwee, and I am Kenya's ambassador to MonoMozumi services. With me today is an artistic and insightful writer who was one of our winners in July's international essay competition that was held by MonoMozumi services. She is also a distinction certificate holder from Harvard University in astrobiology and is also an author and an editor of various published works of literature, such as An Ode to Verity, which is an anthology of poems. Ladies and gentlemen, help me welcome Sanya Sinha from India. Welcome, Sanya. We are very excited to have you here today.
The pleasure is all mine. Thank you so much for having me here.
Yeah, so Sanya, tell us more about yourself.
My name is Sanya. I'm from Patna, Bihar. And I used to be the editor of my school's magazine. It was known as The Echo. I am also the state winner for the 2015 National Essay Writing Competition that was organized by the Central Board of Secondary Education. I have 2 books authored in my name, an anthology of poems titled The Ode to Verity, and a compiled collection of literature from across the world. It's known as the World's Literature Digest. It was compiled by me and my cousins.
Yeah, thank you so much for that. Tell us, you are a distinction certificate holder from Harvard University in astrobiology. Tell us more about astrobiology.
Astrobiology is basically the study of life on exoplanets, that is outside the Earth and into the universe, right? So my course was specifically known as Super Earths and Life. So what are super Earths? Super Earths are basically planets that are bigger than Earth, but are smaller than Uranus. So my course dealt with dealing with life on super Earths. What is the probability of finding lives on super Earths? What is the probability of sustaining the life available on these planets? So while the course did not specifically deal with the probability of finding aliens, but yes, we do believe that aliens exist somewhere.
Oh, that is really interesting. I was so curious to know what astrobiology really was. So you are an author and an editor of various works of literature that have even been published, like the World Literature Digest. So I'd like you to tell us your experience in the field of literature. How has it been for you?
Oh, it's been a hell of a ride, I would like to say. I started writing when I was 8 years old, and I consequently started writing essays because, first of all, I started with poetry. I wrote my first poetry when I was 8, and I used to be a very big foodie back in those days. So I wrote my poem known as The Tasty Meal. It was basically about a kid who had great aspirations pertaining to his breakfast. But unfortunately, it only ended up being bread and butter for him for breakfast. So that was something I really related to at that particular point of time. And I sent it for publication in my school's magazine that was known as The Echo. But I faced rejection. But it never really stopped me from working towards my dreams, because I sent essays and poetry to The Echo magazine for 5 consecutive years. And after 5 years, I finally got my big break when my poetry was not just published in The Echo magazine, but it was also published in the Telegraph newspaper.
Oh, that is really interesting. And it makes me curious. Astrobiology is a science, right? So having been able to balance and shine in both fields, science and literature, tell us how you do it.
I don't really have a specific mantra that helps me, organize everything. It's just that science is the educational front of my life, whereas writing, etc., they are my passion. While yes, I enjoy science, but that is what I aspire of making a career out of. But writing is my passion, and that is what I like to do most of the time. So I'm also an engineering student at Birla Institute of Technology. I study electronics and communication engineering. I only started my course 2 days back, so I'm really new at this.
Yeah, that is really exciting. Congratulations on your recent win in the International Monthly Essay Competition for the month of July. Tell us, how does it feel to be in the top internationally?
Oh, it's really very exciting. I really didn't think that I would win because there were so many great entries from so many different people in the world. So it was really very exciting for me to win on such a great platform, specifically for a new writer like me. because I had never won something internationally. I had a few national wins and I had a few regional wins, but I was never profound internationally. So yeah, that's a really big deal for me.
Yeah, it really must feel nice. So how did you get to know about MonoMozumi?
I believe it was the month of July, and I was just strolling about Google because I hadn't written anything significant for over 6 months, and I felt that the edge I had over my writing was gradually dissipating. So until and unless you keep in practice, the creative hand you have, it gradually just loses. So you need to keep on writing. So in order to continue with my expedition, I decided to look for something on the internet that would help me rekindle the flair towards writing. So I found MonoMozumi, and what attracted me the most about it was that it was free of cost, absolutely, and they had really catchy topics. Like, for example, my topic was one mystery. So while all the essay writing competitions were dealing about the COVID era and about coronavirus, what would the world be after coronavirus, MonoMozumi had something very different. It was talking about mystery. So yeah, that was something that enticed my attention, and I really liked the edge it had over the other competitions. So that is why I chose it, and to good effect.
Yeah, on behalf of Team MonoMozumi, thank you so much for that. So you are an author and an editor, and from your bio, I learned that you write mostly about poems. So would you tell us how you got to that direction of writing?
Yeah, actually, I belong to a family of renowned authors. My grandparents are authors and they own their publishing house. They actually study in the fields of human resource management. So whenever I saw them writing, it really drew my attention towards them. And I decided, and I was really enticed to the entire procedure. You know, you write something, you send it to their publisher, and then the publisher analyzes it and it sends you back. So it just really attracted me very much. So obviously,
Well, that is really
that was where it all
interesting.
began.
Yeah, that is
Yeah.
really interesting. So you've been writing since you were 8 years old. What has been your greatest challenge so far?
My greatest challenge was getting published for the first time, obviously, because once you're into the writing business, it is not that difficult to remain in it. But what's really difficult is carving a niche for yourself, right, and entering into the business. So the most difficult part for me was getting published in my school's magazine, although that might seem like the easiest thing to be done, but that was the most difficult thing for me, because that was the threshold of my writing. So that was the most difficult part for me, to finally get a platform particularly for myself. So yes, that was the most difficult part of my writing.
And what keeps you going? Who inspires you and why?
My inspiration has always been my grandfather and my grandmother also, because they always keep on writing. They may be ill, they may be in some other place at that particular time, but they never stop writing. They are so committed to their passion and they are so committed to their career that really keeps me very fascinated by the way they function and the way they work. So it has always been my grandparents for me. I
Oh,
live in
that
the
is
same house as them,
interesting.
so yeah.
So do you have a favorite author? If yes, who and why?
Yes. Yes, actually, I believe that no particular author can dominate a particular genre completely, right? So I have different favorite authors for different genres. For fantasy, I love Brandon Sanderson because of the ease with which he introduces us into a very intricately layered plot line. My favorite poet is Edgar Allan Poe, because of he delves into the dark mazes that are obscured from normal people's vision. And as far as my favorite young adult novel is concerned, it's John Green, because of the way he just pours his emotions into the book. I really envy him for that, because I have never been able to do something so profound in my life. And my favorite romantic novel is Nicholas Sparks, because the way he structures his romance, it's really very inspiring, and it's really very profound and deep. So these are the novelists I take inspiration from, because they are so good at what they do. And sometimes I wish I were like them. So yes.
You actually will be like them. So do you have any recommendations of young writers so that they can improve in their writing now that we've talked about authors?
Recommendations, I believe that writing is not something that you can just implement in yourself by reading books. Obviously, whilst it is important to read books, it is more important to acquaint yourself more to the towards the writing, and that will only be achieved by reading books, obviously. So when you start reading, I would like to recommend young authors to read books by Enid Blyton or Rick Riordan, the Percy Jackson series, the Secret Seven series, the Famous Five series. These are really very famous sets of books, and this is how I started reading. And so gradually you can advance to Harry Potter. I truly believe that everybody should read Harry Potter once in their lifetime, because it's like it's a masterpiece. There is no denying that. And slowly and gradually you can shift to classical novels written by Jane Austen or written by Emily Bronte or Charlotte Bronte, because that is where they really help you to improve your English, and they really help you to uh, enhance your creative aspects to a dramatic level. And subsequently, you can just edge towards more complicated novelists like Daphne du Maurier, Brandon Sanderson, Stephen Erikson. So yes, this is how you advance slowly and gradually.
So yeah, I really agree with you that Harry Potter is a good masterpiece. And that brings me to another question. Talking about reading a lot, do you believe that reading many books will influence how you write?
While I believe that you need some content to actually start writing, you can't just start writing out of the air, out of thin air, you know. You really need to have some inspiration, and you really need to acquaint yourselves with the various writing styles of the different people out there. But I believe that it is different for different people. I know many people who are not into reading, but they write amazing stories and they write amazing poetry as well. So it works differently for different people, and different people are hardwired in different ways, you can say. But I truly believe, for me, that the more I read, the more I am acquainted with the different styles of the people, the more it has helped me to further delve into the writing business. Because writing is not something that you can just conjure up on your own. You need inspiration, and you need people by your side who will always keep recommending good things to you. So yes, it is very important to keep positive and to keep yourself open to many inspirations, and keep yourselves open to many new ideas.
Yes, thank you for that. And you've won in more than one essay competition internationally. So, what, according to you, should a structured essay look like? Or what do you
A
think are the
structure
qualities of a good essay?
For me, the most important quality that an essay should possess is that it should not be boring. Because when you start your essay, in the first paragraph itself, a judge or a reader can make out whether they want to continue reading your essay further or not. Because if the first paragraph itself, if the introduction to your essay is boring and it sets the tone in a very complicated way, nobody would really like to read your essay and complete it. So you need to make sure that your essay could be anything. It could be very factual, it could be very emotional, but it should not be boring. And that is the most important thing that I would like to tell to any essayists. They should not make their essay boring. It should be a perfect balance between facts and emotions. It should not be completely factual. It's okay. It could not be completely emotional. That's also okay. But it should not be boring. That And definitely the essay should be very it should be very it should be like dominoes, you know. Every little line should be connected to the next line. Every line should be correlated, so that the essence of the essay is very clear and it is very lucid to the target audience. So this is what I believe.
Yeah, thank you for that. And having read your bio, you've achieved a lot of things at a very young age. So, where do you see yourself in the next 5 years?
In the next 5 years, on the academic front, I see myself doing my master's in business administration from a prestigious university. And on the writing front, I see myself with at least one published novel, because I have wanted to be a novelist ever since I was very young. So whilst that is on the academic front, that I want to do my MBA, etc., but I really want to have something out of my writing as well. I have really wanted to write a high fantasy series, a high fantasy anthology, and one of it at least in the next 5 years. Apart from that, on the personal aspects of my life, I would like to say that in the next 5 years, I want to be developed into a more mature and a more independent human being, so that I can take my decisions for my own self. And while I should always be open to suggestions, I should be able to decide for myself.
That is really beautiful and exciting, and I'm really hoping you'll be able to achieve all that.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. So, what is on your bucket list?
My bucket list, I really want to get, first of all, an engineering degree from a prestigious institute. Then I want to get an MBA degree from a prestigious institute. And then I want to have at least one anthology in my name, an anthology. I've been planning on writing an anthology that comprises 7 books, like just like the Harry Potter series. But I want these 7 books to be so influential that they etch an indelible imprint for themselves in the gallows of literature. And I really want them to be read by maximum number of people so that I can share my views about fantasy with the rest of the world. So that is what I really want for myself. I want a collection of books that I would like to diffuse throughout the world. And most importantly, I would like to see myself doing something in STEM, because there are so many women who don't get the opportunity to do what they really want to in the STEM sections, in technology or in management. So I want more and more women to be influenced by technology, and I want more and more women to acquaint themselves with these sources, so that the number of men and women is balanced and the ratio remains constant.
That is really good, and that is so great. And I'd like to be among your readers for your anthologies in future. All the best.
Thank you. That means a lot.
So, what are your biggest fears, or what is your biggest fear?
My biggest fear is potential that goes untapped, or potential that is not recognized. I was very afraid when I started writing, for the fear that I might not be recognized, or for the fear that my work would not be appreciated by the people. But I gradually came over it as I started writing, and gradually I became confident about my writing. And I am very open to suggestions. If people suggest me something about my writing, I just accept it and I try to implement it in my future essays and my future poetry. So I really believe that you should be open to suggestions. And even if you're afraid of something, like I was afraid of my potential going untapped, you should face it with positivity, and you should never feel bad about it.
What message would you like to give to young writers and future participants for these international essay competitions?
The message that I would like to give to the readers or to the viewers of this interview would be to never give up, because no matter how many times you fall down, you always have to pick yourself if you really want to be committed to your work. You need to have consistent efforts directed in that particular way, because until and unless you're consistent, you won't be able to produce anything out of your efforts. So consistent effort is important. You can't just come to your desk after 5 years and say and regret the decision that you made 5 years ago about not writing. So you need to be consistent in your efforts. You need to be open to suggestions, and you really need to have confidence in yourself. I think that is the message I would like to pass on to the viewers of this interview.
Thank you. That's a really beautiful message and an inspiring one. So thank you so much, Sanya, for your time. Congratulations again for winning in the essay competition.
Thank you. Thank you so much. It was nice talking to you.
Yeah, all the best in your endeavors. It was nice talking to you too.
Thank you. Thank you so
much. To
much.
our viewers, that was Sanya Sinha. For you, stay tuned for the next interview. Goodbye.